A set of numbers like this would make any government uneasy. This is not a short-term fluctuation. This is a systemic decline, not a regional issue, but something spreading nationwide. Once population starts turning downward, it rarely reverses. On April 29th, all 31 provinces in China released their 2025 year-end population data. The picture is clear. 24 provinces saw population declines, nearly 80% of the country. Only 7 provinces recorded growth. This is no longer a localized problem. It is a broad, cross-regional trend affecting the entire country. Looking at the details, Shandong lost about 371,700 people. Anhui lost 410,000, Hubei 230,000, Sichuan 460,000. Liaoning and Heilongjiang lost 240,000 and 280,000 respectively. Major population provinces like Jiangsu, Jiangxi, Hunan, Hebei, and Guangxi also saw declines. These regions share a common pattern. Young people are leaving, the population is aging rapidly, and fewer people are willing to have children. In some places, the situation has entered what can only be described as a freeze. In one mid-sized city in Anhui, only 914 new births were recorded in the first quarter, down 67.4% from the same period last year. This is not gradual decline. This is a cliff. From a structural perspective, the problem is even more serious. Take Beijing as an example. Over the past decade, the number of young people aged 20 to 29 dropped from 4.618 million to 2.489 million, a loss of more than 2 million. At the same time, the population aged 60 and above increased by 1.735 million. In simple terms, the city is getting older fast, with not enough young people to replace them. The same pattern appears in major population provinces like Hunan, Hebei, and Anhui. The share of young people keeps shrinking while the elderly population keeps growing. The population pyramid is flipping upside down. For any economy, this is a dangerous signal. Even in the few regions where population is growing, the outlook is not optimistic. Take Shanghai. In 2025, there were about 107,000 births and 164,000 deaths, a natural decrease of 57,000. The only reason the population grew was because of net inflow of about 108,500 people. Guangdong shows a similar pattern. Growth is driven by migration, not by rising birth rates. In other words, what looks like growth is often just people moving around, not new life being created. The impact is already visible in everyday life. Kindergartens are disappearing on a large scale. Data shows that in 2024, the number of kindergartens dropped by 21,100 compared to the previous year. That is roughly 2 closures every hour. Since 2022, the number has been declining for 3 consecutive years, something not seen in over a decade. At the same time, the number of enrolled preschool children has dropped by 12.34 million over 5 years. Traditional population giants like Shandong, Hebei, and Hunan are hit the hardest. Even economically stronger provinces like Guangdong and Jiangsu are not immune. Kindergartens are now facing a simple problem. There are not enough children. Private kindergartens are the first to collapse. In 2023, there were 149,500 private kindergartens. By 2024, that number fell to 135,500. A massive number of teachers are leaving the profession. From over 3.5 million in 2021 to 3.07 million in 2023, a loss of more than 400,000 in just 2 years. Population decline is not just a number. It triggers chain reactions across education, employment, real estate, consumption, and the entire social structure. Looking deeper, the numbers are even more alarming. The share of children aged 0 to 4 dropped from 5.66% in 2011 to 3.88% in 2023, a decline of over 30%. The birth rate fell from 13.27% to 6.39%, almost cut in half. Since 2022, births have fallen below deaths, marking the beginning of negative population growth. One sentence sums it up. Fewer children, more elderly. Many people simply say young people do not want to have children. But that is only part of the story. The deeper issue is a long-term structural imbalance. When the economy slows down, jobs become unstable, incomes fall, while the cost of marriage keeps rising, housing remains expensive, and education and healthcare costs stay high. Having children becomes a high-risk decision. It is not that people do not want children. It is that they do not feel safe having them. Looking deeper, this situation did not appear overnight. For decades, strict birth control policies limited families. At the same time, uneven resource distribution pushed the cost of raising children onto households. When policies suddenly shifted to encourage births, society no longer had the flexibility to respond. There is a very real truth here. The issue is not whether people want children. It is whether they can afford to live. When a family cannot secure its own stability, the next generation becomes a luxury. Even more concerning, once population decline enters a negative cycle, it accelerates. Fewer young people means weaker economic momentum, fewer opportunities, and even less incentive to have children. It becomes a loop that feeds itself. This is not something simple policy changes can fix. Another reality cannot be ignored. Migration is masking the severity of the problem. Major cities rely on attracting people to maintain growth. But this is essentially redistribution, not new births. Once inflows slow down, these cities will face the same structural gap. This is not just a demographic cycle. It is a structural crisis. Population is not just a number. It is the temperature of a nation's future. When children disappear, the future goes silent. A society that fears having children has a deeper problem. When kindergartens close one after another, when young people keep shrinking in number, when the elderly population keeps growing, this is not just a change in statistics. It is a quiet rewriting of the future. The real question is not why the population is declining, but what has changed in society that people no longer want to pass the future to the next generation. If you are following these changes, make sure to like the video, turn on the notification bell, and stay with us as we continue tracking these major developments.